Welcome to Charity Therapy, the podcast where we explore the ups and downs of the nonprofit sector and answer your burning questions. I'm your host, Jess Birken, owner of Birken Law Office, and I'm excited you're here. Imagine hanging out with me and my super smart, funny nonprofit expert pals. You get to ask them anything about your nitty-gritty nonprofit life and get their wisdom for free. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just strapping on your nonprofit boots, we're here to share stories and remind you you're not alone on this journey. So get ready to join the conversation and bring me the tough questions. I ain't scared. Ready to rock? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Charity Therapy. Meghan is here with me today. Hey, Meghan.
Hey, Jess. Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing all right. My kiddo comes home from college today, and I am excited to see her.
Yes. So exciting. I still can't believe she's almost done with her freshman year. That's wild.
It's wild. It's like, where does the time go? Like,
she
insane.
just moved out, right? Like yesterday? Surely.
She was just 5 yesterday. Like, what?
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Nobody knows.
Time flies. The older I get, the faster time seems to go. Absolutely.
I mean, there's the whole thing of like, a month in the, comparison to your entire life is like the ratio is so different when you're 5 versus when you're like 45. So it's like, yeah, of course, our perception of time is crazy.
Well, and they say like there's something about like the amount of new experiences you have.
Oh,
and
sure.
As we enter into adulthood and get into like routines and you spend every day is kind of the same. I think we all experienced that in the pandemic, right? It was like weird time skipping effect because every day was like even more the same. So it just your perception of time, it seems to slip by, I think, a little bit more, but not lately. I
was going to say, what a perfect segue, because every day is not the same for sure. Yeah. So we're recording this in March of 2025.
Yeah.
And ever since Inauguration Day in January, there's been tons and tons of worry and uproar about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we've been getting lots of questions from clients and others about what's actually happening and what they need to do in response to these changes. So, Jess, can you actually break down what is happening with DEI programs?
Yeah. So basically, the Trump administration, the president issued Executive Order 14151, which told the Federal Office of Management and Budget to end all policies, programs, and preferences related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, which is wild. So the order mandated basically that like agencies had to provide lists of employees that were hired under DEI or departments that were DEI related, and they have sort of en masse been terminating those employees or gutting those departments and getting rid of the departments throughout the federal government.
Right. So the executive order is really focused on what is happening within the government, correct?
Yes, 100%.
Yes.
So we have a listener question on this, I'm assuming, because
let's go right into it.
Lots of client questions on this.
Yes. So let's hop in. So I am starting a nonprofit that helps people of color get opportunities and access into the fine arts and museum spaces. I've been doing this work for a long time, and the nonprofit itself has been in the works for ages now, but I'm really concerned about how this is going to work now. Are we allowed to do this in 2025, or will we be labeled as a DEI program and shut down?
Okay, here's the thing. Just because the president issued an executive order doesn't mean that DEI is illegal across the land in all parts of the realm. The executive order was about the federal government. It was about the federal government as an employer, as like a group of agencies is not allowed to do that. And the thing that is chapping my hide with this question and all the clients is somehow everyone is just sort of taking this, like there was an executive order that says no DEI, and they're extrapolating that and thinking that diversity, equity, inclusion is illegal. No, DEI is not illegal, okay? You are a private person. You are a private corporation. You are a private nonprofit corporation. You can still hire under a DEI policy. You can still offer a scholarship that is for, gives preference to BIPOC individuals or historically disadvantaged populations or whatever you want to do. The chilling effect that this executive order has had on the nonprofit sector is wild, like wild. I just can't say this strongly enough that order related to the federal government and their actions as an employer and their policies as an employer, it really can't touch the private companies, which is why you see all of this scandal with Target rolls back its DEI. Why was that controversial? Because they didn't have to do it. They didn't have to do it. The federal government was not mandating that all private corporations stop having diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives. They just did it anyway. That's why people were mad. And that's why people are like, Costco's the greatest, because Costco's like, we're keeping our DEI. We think it's good for business. And that's why that whole thing exists, because the president, with a stroke of a pen, cannot change everything for everyone everywhere. So I just want to everyone needs to take a beat, actually get on the Googles and read about the executive order. Don't just absorb information from the ether and the internet. Actually go read what it means. And it's about the federal government and the federal government employees. That's it. That's all
Yes,
it is.
go read the order itself. I mean, honestly, I think this says a lot about the media machine that is the Trump administration and the way that media talks about all of this stuff, that with all of the uproar, it's really easy to miss where this is coming from. And if you're just looking at the uproar, it's like, oh, yes, surely this means that DEI is illegal, or we're going to get in trouble just for having any sort of preference or mission focus on people of color. And it's just like, no, but I understand why people think that way, because the media frenzy makes it really hard to differentiate what is really being required, what has really happened from a legal perspective, yes, and what is just speculation and worry and angst about it all.
Well, and here's the thing. If you're running an organization, or in this case, you're about to be running an organization, you are going to have a board, or you already, if you're listening to this, you already do have a board and you have fiduciary duties. Okay. And that duty includes reasonably educating yourself about the world and how it affects your nonprofit. So if you're getting your information from somebody on TikTok said this thing, what you need to do is not take action for your nonprofit organization based on what someone on TikTok said, based on something you heard somewhere. You have a duty to actually go get informed and figure out what this means. Now, we could do a whole other episode just about how we may have funders who are scared and they may not want us to say this thing. We could do a whole other episode about should we put in an application to the IRS that has these words in it, right? Those are all kind of under this umbrella of people being afraid of this administration and their proclivities and their preferences. But if you're making a decision for the nonprofit, you need to get good information from a reputable source like Wikipedia or better, not somebody on YouTube who was talking about it, right? So if people just take the time to actually investigate this issue a little bit, they will see that this related only to the federal government, and it is not yet, not yet, the law of the land. Okay. So that's what I have to say about that. Do your duty, get good information, use critical thinking, and get off the social media train and get off the fear mongering train and like ask me, ask someone, get some help. But this is not ending private corporations' ability to have an affirmative action program, to have a diversity, equity, inclusion policy, or to serve historically marginalized, whatever specialty interests, affinity groups. All of that is still okay.
Yeah. And so to directly answer this person's question, like, no, you will not be shut down as a nonprofit just because you are focusing on like helping folks get into spaces that they previously were not able to access. Like that is not a thing that is happening right now with the Trump administration.
Now, for this listener, again, like they're trying to start and they need to submit an application to the US federal government, which right now we don't know. We don't know what is going on inside the IRS exempt organizations division. We don't know if they're being told not to approve applications. And, I've certainly had clients decide to minimize the amount of like keywords in their application. That was their choice, right? So I understand the concern, but you also can't preemptively shut down something that hasn't even gotten going. And then just for what it's worth, like this is how tyranny wins.
Right.
If you just preemptively shut yourself down by capitulating to the whims of people in charge who don't like what you're doing, then you know what? Like, we don't live in a free country anymore, basically. I don't know what to tell you. The preferences of our current president should not be a factor. And there's a lot more we could unpack and like say about that and like how it impacts fundraising and all of that stuff. But let's just assume I'm not seeing any change yet in applications at the IRS and how they're processed. I haven't seen anything saying like this is not allowed to be a charity anymore. It's a private corporation. Let's do what we think is best and act as if we live in a free country where private citizens and private corporations can fulfill their missions the way they want to. Like, let's just operate that way.
Especially because they don't need to make it illegal if everyone just stops doing it because they're so afraid, like that is the end result here. And I don't think that's really the tone this question asker is coming at with. Like, it doesn't seem like they're like, and I'm never going to do it now.
No,
but
no,
it is this sort of like, there is good in doing it, even if it feels riskier. And there is also a reality where, yes, we have to acknowledge all of the effects that this executive order has, even if it is not directly illegal to do this or a problem to do this. Yes, you might have to be smarter about the way you submit your application or strategic about certain funding decisions or whatever because of it. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it or that it's not possible. So we need to like find the place where you can move forward.
Yeah. And just because it's going to take courage right now to do something doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
Like courage and bravery is simply doing something when you're scared to do it. And it's essential for change in society, in your life, and whatever, to do things that scare you a little bit. If you're not, what is this saying? If you're not scared, you're not trying hard enough or growing. Yep. Yeah. I don't know. I butchered that.
It's okay.
But you know what I mean? Do it scared.
Yeah, do it scared. And I know there are a lot of nonprofit people out there who are doing it scared. So this is just the like little boost of confidence of like, you're doing the thing. It is scary. We don't know exactly what's going on. But remember, this is not illegal. You can be doing this. Illegal. It is okay. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So what the heck is the takeaway here?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mean, the big one we've said multiple times already is that DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion as a focus, as a mission, as a program is not illegal. You can continue doing that work. The executive order signed by the president applies to the federal government and certainly has some after effects within private industry, but it does not apply to private corporations or private individuals. So that's a really big mega one, but DEI is not illegal. That's it, I think.
I think that's it. It's just
I was about to be like ready to say more, but it's like, that's the big one.
One nugget. Okay. It's one big value bomb of a nugget. Don't be afraid. You got this. If you are afraid, reach out to your nonprofit attorney to hold your hand during this time, because
get the people around you who can help, because you're not in it alone. And there are ways to protect yourself and still do the thing that you need to do.
All right. Well, that was good. And I feel like, I hope somebody somewhere is listening to this and it has the okay, just take 10 deep breaths. Everything's going to be fine. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message right now, or maybe it's your board, maybe it's your fundraising person, maybe it's just your friend who's saying all this stuff to you at your last lunch date, share this episode with them so that they also can get the message that their mission is okay. If you have a story to share or a question or something that's coming up, even just related to current events and nonprofits, whatever, I would really love to hear from you. Send me a note online at charitytherapy.show. And thanks as always for listening to the end. We appreciate you.